welcome to our next Security Middle East webinar. I'm thrilled to be joined by a couple of stellar panelists today to be covering a really interesting topic, covering essentially how to secure complex ecosystems such as stadiums or stadia. Now, the Middle East is probably one of the most forward-thinking areas or regions regarding sporting events, and the number of stadiums that are being built and integrated into these nations is per capita probably one of the most significant. If we look at the Middle East in general, the coming years there will be significant numbers of people, tourists, attendees to sporting events that will be experiencing these new technically innovative stadiums. And with that, with that number of individuals coming to visit, it essentially puts the region under far more intense safety, operational, and reputational pressure. So essentially securing these stadiums is becoming an even more important topic. Now, of course, historically, traditional siloed security systems are no longer enough for these types of interconnected ecosystems. So I'm thrilled to bring in our two speakers to introduce them. So I'm joined by Issam Shabani. Now, Issam, this is our I think our fourth or fifth webinar together now. So absolute pleasure to have you again with us. For those of you on the line that are unfamiliar with Issam, he has a tremendous amount of experience in managing the commercial and technical designs of complex security systems. Been working with Convergint for a number of years, and he has a bunch of experience and expertise in successful deployments across stadia as well, including Expo 2020, police forces, and a variety of other projects in the UAE. Now, joining Issam is Mahmoud Harkous, who is a business development manager for Genetec. Now, Mahmoud is an accomplished BDM covering the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. And again, with over 25 years of experience in Saudi ICT and security markets, he is responsible for driving revenue growth and building strategic partnerships, as well as identifying new market opportunities. So, gentlemen, welcome to the line, welcome to the Security Middle East panel. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today, where we'll be exploring elevating stadium security through intelligence, integration, and instant awareness. And as an overarching couple of stats for the audience on screen, I mean, in my introduction there, I think the amount of investment that's going into entertainment, sports, infrastructure in the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia, is significant. I mean, as a boxing fan myself, and as a sporting football fan as well, the amount of sport and tourism that's coming to that region is crazy compared to other nations. And the upcoming events, the Asian Cup, Expo 2030, even the FIFA World Cup in 2034, will present organizations and their security teams with a variety of challenges. So before we jump in, I'd love to jump to topic number one, which is the nerve center, building command-ready stadiums. And my first question really is for yourself, Issam. How do you architect a command and control environment capable of managing tens of thousands of people, multiple entrances, layered zones, in addition to external threat feeds? What kind of approach and considerations do you have for these major stadiums?
Hi, Daniel. Yes, it's indeed our fourth or fifth time doing this, so I look forward as well, and welcome everyone who have joined us. So yeah, when it comes to stadiums, there's a bit of a uniqueness to the way these sites are designed from a security perspective, just because of the nature of the operation. So we look at different elements. But in many cases, we're engaged on a design and build basis to design the security systems. And in some cases, you do have a consultant or a specific governing body that had an input for the stadium. So I will cover it just from an integrator perspective. There are a few things that we look at, mainly the entry and exits. I would begin with the entry and exits to the stadium itself. beginning with the cars accessing the stadium, and then after that, external circles moving in. When the cars are flowing in, where do they park? And then the entry of the people into the stadium, and more importantly, I would say in the specific case of the stadiums, the exit of the cars and the traffic. So we do study the site, we do study the environment around the site. We do look at the attendance capacity of the stadium, since that has a direct impact on the devices that you would be selecting and the type of network and many other considerations that you'd be selecting for a stadium. And we do look at the perimeter. So there are a few things that are very important to us, like the security operation aspect of it, the security and operation aspect of it. And the stadium in itself is an intense environment. So you'll have large number of people moving in at one point and large number of people moving out and large number of cars for the same purpose. So we pay close attention to the crowd management aspect of it. And then we will talk later during the webinar about maybe a bit more technical aspect of how we build the architecture. One thing that's specifically important as well for stadium is the command and control aspect. Usually in stadiums, we have some command and control that's related to the stadium operation. You might have multiple command and controls running the stadiums that are feeding data into different stakeholders, managing the stadium safety and security. Some of these command and controls are regulated by the regulators. Some of them are regulated by the sports governing body. So we look and study at all of these different elements. And then we start designing the systems sort of to cope with these elements and cope with the future. Many stadiums are built to last decades. Um, some of them grow, some of them upgrade during the period, some of them increase their capacity during the period of operation. So all of these things, just as a precursor to the discussion, a lot of these things are main considerations, and we do study them very carefully when we're designing.
Thank you, Sam. I think one of the core points here is scale, right? And such high density.
Mm.
And I'd like to ask you a follow-up question, which is in these types of venues and environments like stadia, how do you prioritize, things like alarms, analytics, or device events when they reach the operator in the command and control centers? And how do you avoid alert fatigue from just so much data coming in?
Fantastic question. Uh, it's a lot. I would say maybe 90+% of the importance in managing stadium security operations relates to the incident management aspect of it. And that, I would say, covers maybe three areas I would focus on: the this security aspect of it, um, and everything that revolves around it. So if during, when people go in large numbers, when people gather in large numbers, you would naturally expect trouble. So imagine if people are going in to cheer for their team and the team loses, they're not going to be exactly delighted with the result. So you have to anticipate a lot of the problems that might happen during that operation. The other element is safety, and that's very important because in many cases in stadiums you get medical emergencies during live stadium operations that you need to act on very quickly. It might, mean the difference between life and death for someone. So that's very important. And the third thing is the during operation, how fast can you react to these security incidents and how much you can anticipate those security incidents. So for that purpose, we do put emphasis on the tools that we would have in place to help us from a security operation perspective to deal with these things. Mahmoud later will touch on this aspect from the Genetec lens. However, from a security design lens, we do build inside the security platforms uh, different SOPs. Uh, we focus on making the security user's life easy, effective, and fast. So if there's an incident that happens in the crowd, while the crowd is going in, or an accident, near the stadium, in the parking, or when people are driving in. um, the security guard will be alerted through different analytics applications running on the edge or on the core of the system. They would be alerted live, and they will be able to see that very fast. And then through the SOPs, by click of a button, they'll be able to tell if this is a genuine emergency and what kind of emergency is it. And through the SOPs, or standard operating procedures that we build into the system, they'll be able to push this alarm towards the specific stakeholder that needs to deal with it.
Hmm.
This piece of information should be associated with a lot of very key factors. For example, the location of the incident, the exact location, the exact time of the incident, the fastest route to get to the incident, the nearest security personnel or safety personnel or medics near the incident. So when you get this kind of information through a proper incident management system, when you get this information clean and accurate, you'll be able to act on it quick, and it is a make or break case during the stadium operation, the event, sports event operations. Because again, it's a bit different than your traditional security incident where you have some time to act on it. You might have, you might be working in a hotel or in a commercial building, but this is a stadium. It's a very intense operation that happens over a short period of time. So this speed and effectiveness using an incident management system might mean the difference between life and death, or a bad situation and a fast recovered situation. This is my 2 cents on this.
No, it's a really good point. I think the risk profile of a stadium is quite unique, in terms of the scale, the complexity, both in terms of safety, operational risks as well. So I think that leads me quite nicely, actually, into to bring in Mahmoud into the conversation. And my question for you, Mahmoud, is how does Security Center allow stadium operators to unify video, access, intrusion, analytics, etc., into one intuitive platform?
Thank you, Daniel, for this question. Actually, Genetec Security Center is a truly unified platform that blends IP video surveillance, access control, automatic license plate recognition, communications, and analytics within one intuitive solution. Genetec Security Center also offers multiple interfaces or plugins that allow for integration with intrusion panels, other access control systems, and various security subsystems. So when used as a unified platform, Genetec Security Center allows managing and monitoring all the subsystems from a single client application. So in this case, there is no need to load multiple applications or get trained on separate user interfaces. Monitoring, reporting, and configuration tasks are consolidated all within the security center, providing the stadium operators with the most efficient approach to manage their security systems. Let me give you an example here. The main monitoring application, Security Desk, it includes a monitoring task that loads camera feeds, doors, and license plate reads into a grid of tiles where they can be monitored side by side. So stadium operators specifically can monitor alarms. Alarms can contain and display multiple entities associated to the event. For example, if the alarm is triggered, let's say by a card holder trying or attempting to badge his card at a door, the card holder information, as well as the cameras associated to that door, will be attached to the alarm displayed. So the application also includes a dial pad to connect with intercoms, a pane dedicated for events coming from all subsystems, and many other options that provide users and administrators with a complete view of the situation. So security desk, Genetec security desk, includes dashboards which provide a blank canvas on which you can pin widgets, including security center tiles, reports, and charts. So these widgets, they track the key indicators of your choice, providing an overview of the activity and the events recorded by the system. So this is how a Genetec Security Center, it allows the stadium operators to unify the video, access control, intrusion, analytics into one intuitive platform. You have one single unified dashboard. You can customize it as per your applications, specific to your applications.
Okay, thank you, Mahmoud. And a follow-up question for you would be, what challenges do stadiums face when federating live data across multiple control rooms, or perhaps integrating with city-wide security feeds?
Well, one major challenge stadiums face when federating live data across multiple control rooms or integrating with the citywide feeds is interoperability. So what do you mean by interoperability? When different systems don't always speak the same language. Add to that the need for secure, real data sharing over high bandwidth networks. So the challenges are interoperability, the need for secure, real-time data sharing over high bandwidth networks, strict access control to maintain privacy, and I can say also the complexity of aligning the response protocols between stadium and city teams. So it's not just a technical challenge, it's an operational one, and it requires a flexible, scalable platform that can bridge those gaps seamlessly. And this is the power of Genetec, okay? Security Center Federation in Genetec, it centralizes monitoring, reporting, and alarm management across multiple sites while streamlining the operations during off-peak hours. So, in addition to scaling an organization, it provides the ability for stakeholders of different organizations to share their assets. For example, stadium can share its cameras with local law enforcement. And this is part of the requirements in Saudi Arabia, by the way. Mm-hmm. So Security Center Federation, it combines multiple independent Genetec security systems into a single virtual system. And the purpose of Federation is to allow the users on your local system to view and control the entities belonging to independent remote systems as though they too were local, okay? So I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Mahmoud.
You're welcome.
Very, very clear. Now, I'd love to go to our first question really for the audience, first poll. And the question we have is, how important is centralized command and control for improving security and operational efficiency across your venue or stadium network? Now, you can click on any one of these answers, which is high priority, already implemented, important, currently exploring solutions, medium, on our future roadmap, or the fourth, not a current focus. So we'll give the audience about 10 to 15 seconds to answer their questions, and then we can review just after that as well. Okay, I can see some answers coming in. Perhaps give it another 5 seconds or so. Okay. Okay, so I think there's a clear winner there, guys. It's clearly a high priority, having a centralized command and control center. So yeah, very, very important topic. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, which is intelligent layers, turning surveillance into security intelligence. Now, just building on what we've been looking at in the first topic, you know, there's significant power in centralization of data feeds, and intelligently making sense of what's happening and prioritizing how to respond or mitigate risks in real time. So I'd love to come back to yourself, Isan. What are the most common use cases you see in stadiums deploying today? For example, crowd analytics, perimeter breaches, contraband detection, and what role does it play in real-time threat prediction and crowd management?
Sure. I want to, before I address this, I want to go back to one of the questions that we asked earlier when it comes to considerations. There are a few key standards globally that are used to, let's say, while designing security systems for stadiums. It's a list of different ISO and NFPA and all of those things. There's 5 or 6 key ones. So I invite people who attend, if they are interested in this specific aspect of it, to reach out to us. We can share some more information on this that might be helpful, especially if they are in the process of designing. I would go back to your latest question. So when we look at this subject, we look at the actual incident source, or the security incidents that are commonly happening, and we sort of work our way back in terms of applications we need to secure them. So if you look at every major league around the world, the most common incidents that happened are related to fan misconduct, with its various elements, sometimes stimulated by drinking, or stimulated by the team losing, or stimulated by a whole list of things. But the fan misconduct is, like, by far the most common source of security incidents. The other thing is crowd control failure, that sometimes leads to stampedes, or leads to people getting angry and starting to vandalize stadium assets. Pitch invasion and perimeter breach. So pitch invasion means when you have somebody literally running on the pitch to reach their star player, to say hello, or to get a handshake. And the other thing is the perimeter breach from the exterior of the stadium premises inside the stadium premises. And the last one is targeted attacks that happen. There's a few more, but I would say the top 4 different things, or top 5 different things, are revolving around this aspect. So everything points back to crowd management, and to be able to deal with that, we have different sets of applications that can be onboarded on the system that will assist us in doing that. So we're looking at applications that can alert us when there's overcrowding in some areas, or fights breaking in certain areas. Or when somebody falls, a slip and fall feature as well. Now, they might sound a bit basic and very common in the security industry, but the way you apply them plays a very big role in making sure they are effective. When you plan your stadium operation, security operation, you have an expectation usually of how many people are going to come in from specific entrances. So if you configure your analytics application, whether it's running on the edge or running on the core, when you configure it per zone, and you focus that if I have overcrowding in specific zones, within certain periods, I want to be alerted. If you can do this effectively and successfully, which is not easy, though it sounds easy, but it's not really easy to configure it, then you can get early notification when overcrowding starts, or when a fight starts to break, and then you can act on that very, very quickly. If you move a bit out of the stadium, when it comes to perimeter, the perimeter side of things, this relies on how we configure our pitch solution, and it's really location to location. It's very different between different locations, and depends also on the profile of the location itself. Some stadiums are located in public and open spaces, which is very difficult to control the incoming alerts from perimeters. Some of them have set perimeters. On this particular point, we have seen common theme that the youngsters in the populace are the ones who are mainly causing perimeter breaches from the outer perimeters, and they try to go in before the matches and do certain things before the match even starts. And many of these are also recurring. So again, goes back to how you configure your different analytics applications. Let it be on the PIDs or let it be inside the stadium itself, and how you prepare those different analytics queues when you get notified with them live. Using Genetec as an example, mission control, you get notified live, triggers a certain SOP, triggers certain elements in the security system. You might have an integration with a drone solution or with a nearby PTZ or whatever it is. You get this live notification and you can take a quick action on it. So,
okay. And so I mean, it's clearly quite a complex spectrum of data inputs coming in from a variety of different sources. So when deploying, AI, particularly at the edge, when we're talking about drones, smart cameras, sensor networks, what are the security considerations that you would recommend?
yeah. So look on this. We always have in stadiums. There's a special case, I would say, where most of the cameras or sensors that you use are usually very high megapixel sensors. This is fantastic for the image and your capability to zoom in and capitalize on FR applications and such. Yet the challenge with that is that you need a lot of processing power on those cameras. Again, if the audience is interested in this specific element in the cameras, we're happy to share after the webinar recommended models and recommended brands for this that's been tested and tried. However, let's say high level, there is a part of the application that sits on the edge on the cameras. But I wouldn't, in the case of stadiums in particular, we tend to like more the applications that sit on the server side of things, the AI application that sits in the control room, where you can build a certain processing capacity that's large enough to deal with the high streaming that happens during the stadium operation that's coming from the cameras. Some cases you have a 10 or 20 megapixel cameras streaming large sums of data that you need to analyze in live very quickly, very effectively. So that is an element that we look at during the stadium design phase. And again, it's the part where you look at how many people do I expect in front of the camera. Worst case scenarios, we always work on worst case scenarios where you have maximum people at lower lighting, and what can we do with the analytics over there. The other thing is the integration for the stadium systems is key in this case, because you need to be able to integrate this multi-layered approach to security, integrate it together over a single platform. And you don't want to be learning on the job during the stadium operation, and you don't want if the bandwidth shoots up, you don't want the system to hang during operations. So that element is something that we pay close attention to. And of course, when we select different brands and technology types to operate on these or achieve what we're trying to achieve, we make sure that we have a homogeneous approach to the technology we select. Everything can work together nicely, can integrate together, and can sit on a platform like Genetec machine control with an innate integration to these subsystems, so that they speak the same language and they can work effectively during operations.
Okay. Thank you. And Mahmoud, I'd love to bring you in again to get your perspective on this question, which is how does your platform adapt to future technologies and integrations? For example, biometrics, facial recognition, smart city feeds, etc.
Okay. So our platform is built with flexibility and scalability at its core. We use an open architecture approach, which allows us to easily integrate with a wide range of current and emerging technologies, whether it is biometric systems, like what you mentioned, facial recognition analytics, or smart city data feeds. So we work closely with our technology partners and industry standards to ensure seamless interoperability. This means that as new innovations come to market, our platform can adapt quickly, right? Because it's an open architecture. And add to that, at Genetec, we have 2,000 employees. Half of them, and we're talking about 1,000 employees, they are in the R&D and coding and software development. So this puts us ahead whenever there is any new integrations required, any new emerging technologies, AI, any new innovations that come to market, our platform can adapt quickly, helping our customers to stay ahead of the curve without needing a complete system overhaul. So this now brings us to a question: how can you integrate to Genetec Security Center? Because in your question, you asked about the integrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can integrate to Genetec Security Center through 3 different scenarios. The first scenario is the direct integration, which is done through single point-to-point integration developed for a specific system. So this means when our software talks to the hardware directly at the edge, to a sensor or feature using the Security Desk SDK. So this is done using the Security Desk software development kit. For example, elevator destination dispatch, point of sale devices, drones, radar sensors, laser scans, fence sensors, LiDAR sensors, video analytics, intrusion systems, offline locks, key cabinets, video wall, third-party ALPR, and IoT sensors, and many more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Second scenario is through frameworks. We're talking here about the integration. So this is done through Genetec managed integration schema for system and equipment categories. It is implemented as drivers or plugins. For example, facial recognition framework, like you mentioned in your question, for facial recognition. Generic intrusion protocol, access control systems plugins. The third scenario for integration with Genetec Security Center, this is done through integration to industry managed communication standards. So implemented as drivers or plugins also. For example, ONVIF protocol, BACnet, Modbus, SNMP, OPC, TCP, HTTPS, MQTT. So this is how we adapt to future technologies, and this is how we do the integration.
And a follow-up question for you is how important is openness and vendor agnostic architecture when it comes to long-term stadium planning?
Okay, so openness and vendor agnostic architecture are absolutely critical for long-term stadium planning. So, you know, stadiums, as Isam mentioned, they are complex ecosystems that evolve over time, whether it is adding new technologies, expanding infrastructure, or integrating emerging systems like AI and IoT. The technology that we have now, maybe now in 2034, when the World Cup happens in Saudi Arabia, maybe we'll have now different technologies in 2034, right, Isam?
Mm.
So a closed or proprietary setup can limit flexibility and lock you into specific vendors, making upgrades costly and complicated. On the other hand, an open vendor agnostic architecture gives you the freedom to choose best-in-class solutions, adapt to future needs, and ensure, of course, long-term sustainability. Okay, and this is very important, without being constrained by past decisions. So it's about future-proofing your investment while maintaining control and agility.
Okay, thank you. And final question on this topic for you, Mahmoud, is How does the system differentiate between noise, false positives, and actual threats in a stadium scenario with high movement and multiple sensory inputs?
Yes, and here I saw mentioned at the beginning that about mission control, and here I want to elaborate about genetic mission control, because the answer to your question is genetic mission control. So if you use genetic mission control, you will be able to differentiate between the false, let's say, alarms, or the incidents that don't need action from operators. So what is genetic mission control? Genetic mission control is a collaborative decision management system. It is integrated into Security Center. Mission control, it provides new levels of situational intelligence, visualization, and complete incident management capabilities. So it helps security personnel, or the stadium operators in this case, make quick decisions when faced with routine tasks or unanticipated situations by ensuring a timely flow of information. For stadiums, the events, it happens over, let's say, 2 hours, right? And you have, let's say, 80,000 people gathering in a stadium for 2 hours. So you can imagine the number of incidents which the operators will be monitoring. So they cannot do it manually, right? So they need a system to help them monitoring and taking decisions and actions. Because you cannot take action after 3 hours. You have to take immediate actions, right? So mission control, it moves stadium security teams beyond simple event and alarm management, collecting and qualifying data from thousands of sensors and security devices. Because, in a stadium, we're talking about thousands of cameras, hundreds of access control panels and readers, maybe thousands of sensors, fire alarm systems, etc. So collecting qualifying data from all these sensors and security devices, from SCADA, cameras, readers, radar systems, ALPR, gunshot detection devices, mission control can spot the most complex situations and...
Okay, thank you, Mahmoud. Gonna have to cut you short there, unfortunately, because we've only got about 10 minutes left. So very quickly, we've got a second poll for the audience, which is, as you look to enhance your stadium safety and efficiency, which of the following technologies would you most like to adopt? And this is multiple choice. You can pick more than one. We'll give this maybe 10 seconds, and then we can review the answers and then quickly move on to topic 3 to close. Okay, can see some answers coming in. Let's perhaps have a look at the answers in 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, I'd say that's a pretty even spread in terms of what individuals on the line are looking to enhance. So it's quite an interesting breakdown of data there. Okay, all right. Let's move on to topic number 3, the final topic, which is game-changing results, resilience, ROI, and scalability. And I think we've got a couple of case studies here, right? So if we flick to the next slide, stick with yourself, Mahmoud. It'd be great to understand, in the Twickenham case study, how did integrating Genetec clearance and federated video sharing support law enforcement collaboration?
Yes. So, okay. So genetic clearance is a it's your question is about the integrating genetic clearance, right? In the Twickenham Stadium. So genetic clearance, it's a collaborative digital evidence management system that facilitates collaboration between security departments, outside agencies, and the public. So for Twickenham Stadium, located 16 kilometers southwest of the center of London, it's the home of England and the headquarters of the Rugby Football Union. So it has 82,000 seating capacity, okay, which makes it the second largest stadium in the UK, and the fourth largest in Europe. So shortly after installing the Genetec Security Center platform, the Twickenham security team spotted two men trying to add bank card scanners to a nearby ATM located outside of the property. So they were able to inform the banks, the police, provide high-resolution video as evidence, and help mitigate fraud, which would likely have affected visitors to their stadium. This is all done through the Genetec clearance module, okay? It helps organizations speed up their investigations by allowing them to secure, collect, manage, review, and share digital evidence from a single application. So the solution is developed as an open platform to allow users to gather digital evidence from many sources, including surveillance systems, body-worn devices, in-car systems, and the public.
Okay, thank you so much. And what additional benefits has the customer seen from integrating real-time drone feeds and AI analytics to your unified commands software center? What did you help this particular client achieve?
This question to me, right?
Yes, Mahmood.
Yeah, so talking about drones now, you know, drone security deployments are increasing commonly. They are being used to look at perimeters and conduct constant surveillance over large areas. So, as you know, drones can be connected to any intrusion sensor, like radar, fence sensor, to take off automatically in the event of an alarm. Okay, so covering areas of several dozen hectares with conventional video surveillance is nearly impossible and implies high installation and maintenance costs. As a result, most of the time when an intruder breaks in, security teams need many minutes or even hours to find them. Drones efficiently improve security teams' response time. Okay, so drones can be integrated into Genetec Security Center. With this integration, operators can dispatch drones directly from Security Center manually. It can also extract alarms from Security Center to automatically send the drone to the alert point. So this helps the security teams conduct a coordinated, rapid response to incidents while reducing risks to, of course, the staff.
Very conscious of time, and there's quite a lot of questions that are coming in from the audience. So I'd just like to move to the last couple of questions for Issam, and then we can go to the audience questions as well. I'm sure that you'll have the opportunity to answer theirs. So Issam, how do you ensure the systems are scalable for mega events, concerts, and cross-venue coordination? And how important is openness and vendor-agnostic architecture when it comes to long-term stadium planning?
Okay. Thanks, Daniel. So, look, when we talk about scalability, for the systems to be scalable, there are considerations that needs to be taken into account for the hardware side of things, the physical deployment. We make sure that when we look at the network design, the active and passive network, we build in the systems a certain spare capacity. So you have spare ports on your switches to connect devices in the future that might be added. You keep certain leeway in cabling as well. You keep additional fiber cores. You keep a lot of this during the execution phase so that if there's an urgent requirement or a scalability requirement later, you don't have to create new IDFs. You don't have to add full-on switches. You can sort of scale the system in a reasonable way. Of course, the hardware that we use usually needs to be open source, open architecture. So it's not really locked to a certain vendor. So you can benefit from adding different brands or adding on top of what you already have. The second thing is on the software level, we usually go for enterprise level software applications that do not necessarily have a limitation of how many devices you can add to those software. So you can have as many cameras as you want, as many subsystems as you want, and you have a certain flexibility to integrate as well third-party applications to connect them to your system. You might need a new feature, 1 year, 2 years down the line. You don't want to end up buying a new platform for that. You want to use your same platform that you invested in and just grow it a little bit. Having said that, the scalability element is surely in many cases encoded in the tenders that come out, and in some cases it's not. But in either way, I can tell you that having a scalable system is a bit more expensive than having an unscalable one and a proprietary one. However, on the long term, having the right scalable system in place and having this kind of flexibility in the hardware and the software allows you to scale your system for a more reasonable commercial fee in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that probably an interesting final question here would be, can you speak to the return on investment, perhaps, Issam, that stadium and operators can expect? We're talking about
Yeah.
operations, safety, etc.
Yeah. So very interesting. We had visit us during one of the events, famous events in UAE. Ex-chief of police, and she is the head of security for the NFL stadiums in US. We discussed this particular point because it's very difficult for us to put a dollar number on it. If you go online or you go to different research institutes, you might see numbers ranging from $10,000 to $500,000 or maybe more, and they can tell you that the system pays for itself fairly quickly. However, what I can tell you that there are certain, if you have the right security system in place with the right applications on it, it has a direct impact on a few things, and it's difficult to quantify, but I can mention a few to you. So first of all, you will reduce your manpower. More intelligent systems, less less count of people required on the site to take action. The second direct impact is, of course, we spoke about it, you save a life. You might save a life during operation. The third thing is insurance costs. If you have the right systems in place, you can go back, negotiate your insurance costs. This is big in Europe and US. I think it's coming down the line for Middle East as well. And the last one that's very, very big for us in the Middle East, UAE and Saudi, is the reputational element of it. The challenge with many of these stadiums is during operations, you have hundreds of cameras filming what's happening. So one incident that's not managed correctly will go on live TV, and millions of people around the world will see it. So it has a very big reputational impact, and that goes a straight hit to your profits and to your attendance and to your reputation. So yeah, you might be negotiating a million or two during the procurement stage, but we always sort of urge the decision makers that let's make the right decisions now, even if they cost a bit more. However, the return on investment is really immeasurable over the short and long terms.
Okay, thank you. And just to close, we've obviously got the integrator and the kind of developer angle here, and I'd love to understand how critical is the collaboration between technology vendors and system integrators in ensuring a stadium's security systems are fully centralized and optimized?
Look, Daniel, I mean, we almost in every webinar we spend so much time talking about collaboration. And in the case of stadiums in particular, I cannot stress how important it is. And we've seen it live with us in several installations before. So you have the collaboration between the integrator who's doing the systems, doing the implementation and the maintenance, and the vendors. You need the vendors involved with you during the execution, during the configuration, because we're not talking about it's a unique type of operation. So you need to push the systems to the max and make sure they stress tested properly, so that when an event happens, your systems will work without fail. That is the main element. The second element of collaboration is the training. It takes continuous training for our teams and for the for the training for the actual users of the systems. And this is a continuous process. You cannot train and forget. You have to keep training them. And when the season comes, let it be a football season or whatever season comes, you have to make sure that that the teams are trained and the newcomers are actually trained. You run enough simulations and tests so that it's there. The other element of collaboration that is worth talking about is collaboration with different stakeholders. Um, in without mentioning names, but in some of the cases we've had, you have people from FIFA, you have people from the police, from the civil defense, the stadium operation, the facilities management company, our security teams, the personnel. There's so many people that are involved in this operation, and the data that you're extracting during the security operations, everyone will see it from their own lens and will need a certain quality from it relates to their operation. So we have to make sure that, you know, the bottom line of it, the security platform doing the incident management for you needs to be able to talk and push and receive information from different stakeholders that are sort of managing the stadium. So yeah, collaboration is key. If you end up having silos during this operation, silos in systems or silos in operation, it's simply everything's gonna fall apart when, you know, the events happen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much to you both for your presentation today. Very, very detailed and very, very interesting. I think we've got maybe a minute or so for questions. Now, I can see a few. What I'll try and do is I'll try and ask some of the higher level questions, and then any other questions that we can't cover, we can send them directly to you both and connect you with the audience members directly. So, you know, one of the questions I'd like to ask, and I don't mind if Sam or Mahmoud, either one of you answering this one, is, you know, when you're integrating old systems or old or legacy stadium infrastructure with a modern platform, are there any particular challenges you face, or can it be seamless?
Shall I go for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So look, I mean, legacy systems in stadiums is a big one because the the technology, particularly in the upper echelon of the sensors side of the industry, is moving very fast. And if you compare the models we have now for these sensors versus the models that we had 6 or 7 years ago, it's really, really different. So we have a limitation in that sense that we need to deal with. If we go way back to the older stadiums, and I know particularly in the case of Saudi Arabia, they have a lot of way older stadiums that are requiring to be upgraded to a certain standard for the World Cup that's coming. So I can tell you, you know, hand on heart that in many cases it's beyond fixing because the technology is so old and the requirement from the regulators and the authorities is so high that bridging this gap using technology and relying on technology is very limited. As just a basic approach, we would want to digitize the signals coming from the sensors properly and try to have it. And I'm sorry, I might sound a bit general, but you know, considering the general public attending or whoever is attending to understand me, but we try to have those devices speak the same language that your security management system speaks, so that we can take this video and this data and do something useful for it. The brain of the system sitting in your control room or in your data center, we have to upgrade that to be able to accommodate the new incoming applications. So it's a challenge. There is no one answer that fits every situation. We're available to support in any way, shape, or form is needed if somebody wants to take this discussion further.
Thank you, Sam. And Mahmoud, one final question for yourself. You know, we're speaking specifically to the majority of a Middle Eastern audience, right? And there are cultural differences between, you know, crowds, sports. How do you factor these types of cultural differences in when you're designing systems for different regions?
So please come again. I didn't get the question.
I'm saying that, you know, we're speaking to a Middle Eastern audience and designing these systems to factor in different cultures, you know, different crowd behaviors when designing your entire ecosystem. How would you go about that for the Middle East?
You know, different end users, different clients clients, they have different requirements, different specifications, different priorities. So in designing our solution, we have to first sit with the end user and the client and understand from them what are their expectations from the solution. Because, and Assam knows that the first meeting with the end users or with the clients, they have very high expectations. They think that the software can fly missiles to the moon, So it's about explaining the capabilities of the solution, about understanding the applications, understanding the challenges which the client has in his existing existing network. It's rather than understanding the culture, because it's more about understanding the current scenarios, the current challenges, and providing the customized solution for him. The beauty of Genetec unified platform is that you can customize it based on your applications. Okay, so you can add modules, you can add integrations, you can grow in phases. If you have any legacy sensors, any legacy devices that you need to connect, this can be done. So the flexibility, scalability of the software, it helps you provide solutions to all the users in different verticals.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. And thank you to yourself as well, Issam, for your contributions to the webinar today. And massive thank you to the audience and everyone asking their questions. So clearly, centralized security systems in stadiums is going to become even more important as the events flock to the Middle East. So I really hope that the audience found that session interesting and valuable. Yeah, please get in contact with both of the speakers today and the organizations of which they work for. And you can certainly scan the QR code, which I believe is on the next slide, to reach out. And if you have any further questions, I'm sure Issam and Mahmoud will be on hand to support you. So thank you once again from Security Middle East magazine. Thank you to Issam, Mahmoud, Convergint and Genetec, and thank you to the audience.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.